We are live. This is Emil Fisher with another episode of the BCTL Podcast. Today with me, I've got a very special guest. I got Joe Baize. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Joe Baize is one of the, pioneers of competitive grappling in the Midwest. And by that, I mean, Joe was one of the first people competing at a high level out of the Midwest. Joe made it to the ADCCs. What was it, 2010, Joe?
Yeah, I won East Coast Trials in New Jersey in 2010.
Yeah, so Joe's been around for a minute, and he's known for his leg game. He's known for finishing opponents really quickly, and oftentimes, because of his physical stature, the optic is pretty impressive. Because Joe's kind of a shorter, thicker guy. And he's beating these bigger, stronger looking men very quickly and very violently. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you, brother?
I can't complain too loudly, but I'm pretty fucking miserable right now.
No, we all are, man. It does suck.
Yeah, it's a whole situation. Are you still working in the coal mining industry?
Yes. Yeah, lucky right now, still working.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're in the coal mining industry, I'm assuming that that's a essential business.
Yes. But luckily, like I said, it'd be bad right now if I wasn't.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking a second to start a couple watch parties on Facebook, so that way people know to tune in and check this out.
Okay.
So you're one of the most recent in jiu-jitsu, period. One of the most recent competitors. You were just on the Submission Underground last weekend or 2 weeks ago, rather.
Yeah. It's kind of weird when you think about it, but yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that experience. What was that like? How is that similar to and different from what you normally do?
Well, I guess the biggest difference, man, right now is everything is shut down, so it was kind of cool. I enjoyed the process, traveling and stuff like that was definitely a little stressful, but it wasn't at the same time because there was hardly anybody at the airport, hardly anybody on the planes and stuff, so that was a cool part. But also, just the whole part of thinking man, I could be forced to quarantine, which I can't force you to do that. Our governor was just recently, kind of hit with that stuff that, it's not judicial. You can't do that, but he was still trying to inflict it at that point. So I was really worried I was going to be forced to have to stay home when I got back. But as far as the competition went, man, it was kind of cool. It was out in the middle of nowhere. You didn't even know where you were going until 10 minutes before the event started.
A bag over your head or something?
No, we met at a hotel, and then I guess they were so scared of this getting shut down or whatever, they wouldn't tell you where the event was until 10 minutes before, and then you all drove over there, and the whole thing went really quick, of course. Cool. But yeah, man, it was all kind of wild. I didn't find out until a little less than 2 weeks before that I even had a match, and not trying to sound bad, but the only reason I got that is because for whatever reason, I feel like nobody else there wanted to face him. So that's how I got in the mix. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing I think is really interesting, and I commented on this. I was on our mutual friend, Josh LeDuc's podcast in the lead up to it. And I was saying, I think that for whatever reason, people tend to underestimate you. I think that people see you were the underdog. You were the betting underdog in a match against a brown belt that his highest accolade is taking third at IBJJF Nogi Worlds, which is impressive. But I mean, you've done cooler shit than that this year.
Well, I mean, I watched him. I think he won 3 matches at trials last year, and then he lost. And they were saying it was a controversial decision. man, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I seen them sit there and like wrestle fuck each other for like 5 minutes, and I just can't watch that, man. I just turned it off. But so I don't know whether it was controversial or not with him and Stephen Martinez, but
It
like
wasn't controversial. It wasn't
yeah,
controversial.
I didn't see it.
Man. Stephen outworked. I watched the whole match because
Yeah.
I was curious too. I was like, does this kid have a chance against Joe? Like, is there actually like a threat? And the thing was, I was concerned that he was going to successfully stall you to overtime. If he stalled you to overtime, my opinion,
I don't work that stuff, so I'm always gonna like, and I say that publicly because I don't care if even if it's a points match or not. If I don't submit someone during regulation, I could give a shit if I win or lose. Like, I didn't do my job. Like, I know that's an old weird mentality, but like I would rather get submitted than win on points or win in overtime, if that makes sense. Like, I like, if I don't finish somebody, it's because like I just couldn't. Like, I gave my best effort and I couldn't. Like, just the same as like I said, the kid had faced Byron Brown. I'm not real for sure how good Byron is at EBI, but that was really the only big decent match I seen that he had. You know.
So Brian, you're talking about Brian Brown. Like I watched that match too. Like, I really watched a bunch on this kid. Like, anytime I hear somebody that, somebody's got a big match like that, and it's like, it doesn't seem right to me. Like, it just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
So I looked up the kid, and like, Brian looked really out of shape in that match.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's had some injuries. I know that he's had some shit with his body, and I'm sure he's not going to state this publicly and make excuses because I don't think Brian's that kind of guy.
No, not at all.
But I think that Brian wasn't the best Brian that day.
For sure. Yeah. Like I said, I didn't know a whole lot. And then plus, man, it was just like you talk about styles or whatever. The one thing, and it was like the cat that I faced before there. Yeah, I hadn't really seen him submitted other than like he got Darce choked by Micah Brakefield, which I like that guy, but I'd love a match with him as well if they ever set it up. But nobody had attacked his legs, so I knew that I had an advantage in that area. And not trying to sound bad, I'm not cocky or anything, but I knew he wasn't going to pass my guard. Like, I knew that wasn't going to be a threat. So I felt confident that I was going to get a shot on him, and I was like, man, this is a tough match for him to take on two. Like, even if he's been training, which I'd been training, it wasn't a big deal. There was no excuse. Like, somebody said something about me being fat or whatever. Hell, I'm always fat. Like, I was actually 10 pounds lighter for that than what I was the one before.
So one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, this is something that I've been curious about because I've been a Joe Baize fanboy since 2011 or 12 when I saw you go against Josh Souter. Like, that was, for me, I was still a white belt. I didn't know what a heel hook was at that moment. Like,
man, that's crazy.
I did not know what a heel hook was. And I'm at this OGC. It was an OGC at that point. It was one of the last OGCs put on by our friend Dustin Ware. And I saw you going against Josh Souter, and the optic was just silly. Like, Josh looked so much more athletic and intimidating than you. I don't think you subbed him, but he was running scared the whole time.
No, and man, that's another thing, like with him, and this is nothing against him, but it was like I had positions like on his legs, especially at the end. Like, if I'm remembering correctly, I had like a heel hook locked in, but I was really trying to do other things.
Yeah.
And like, to his credit, I wasn't able to submit him with anything else. It actually upset me so bad because, like, I was like, man, and I mean, it's nothing against him, but in my head, I was like, man, that match shouldn't have went out of a minute. I was just trying to do stuff. And then I was like, man, it actually went the distance and it bothered me. So I wasn't going to enter the absolute that day, but I went and I talked to Dustin, and I was like, man, do you care if I enter the absolute? And he's like, no, I don't care. And then, like, I had I think I had 5 matches that day, and I finished all them. And like, I felt like a couple
like that day too.
That was a different event.
Okay.
Like, I thought, like Yeah, man, that was a bad scar on me as well for a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
what are you gonna do? Unfortunately, people don't want to
yeah.
tap, they want to tap. No, but like the point that I'm making is I saw you go against Stouter. And I remember watching you walk out on the mat, and I told my coach, like I was there with my coach, and I told my coach, I was like, what is this? Why is this even happening? Look at this guy, looks like he just got out of bed and doesn't know what he's doing. You got this guy wearing his ballet tudo shorts. And then I saw the way you were like inverting and like taking him over with it, just the way you swept him easily. And I was like, holy shit, this is jiu-jitsu can look like this? This is a
Yeah.
thing that we can do? I don't know, man. It was crazy. I think that if you haven't seen a Joe Baize match, you need to look him up because it's some fucking weird next level shit. So when it comes to your weight,
Yeah.
I feel like Fat Joe, sorry, Fat Joe wins more, like has like a higher winning percentage than skinnier Joe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And man, this is so screwed up, and I'm not even for sure how to attack the situation, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try it, man. And I hope it don't get me in trouble at home. But like, oh shit, here we go. Like, man, if you noticed me when I was competing like super light, I even did a couple of matches at 55. Like,
Yeah,
I did one for, I think I did a couple for Zapatero,
yeah.
and but like, dude, when I got that small, it sucked so bad. It was so hard on my body, and then plus like I just should have never have done it, man. Like I should have never have went that small. But also, like at that time, I was dating like a girl, and I'm not talking bad about her, but like, dude, it was all like kind of a very how do you want to call it? Like a very outside relationship. Like it was like more of like I felt like if I'd have got heavier, I wouldn't. She wouldn't have dated me and stuff like that. And then I was like, my focus was definitely not where it should have been. Like now, man, like every like everything is like my head's good, my home life is good, my wife is awesome. She supports everything I do, like overly supports. So it's I could weigh 300 pounds. It's not going to matter. I honestly do believe she would be with me. So like I have, like this is the best me. And then plus, like a lot of people, they'll look at me and stuff and everything and think what they want. But like, as far as like physical lifts go, if we were in a weight room, like a lot of people would be surprised at like actually how much I lift and
Oh, you're
stuff.
strong
Like,
as fuck, dude. Like you're very, very strong. When you were lighter, were you not as strong?
I'll put it this way: like you got to retrain yourself a little bit. Like if I went for a steamer locks and like because sometimes you'll get some, and you know what I'm talking about here. Some people's
Oh yeah,
got
I
some
know exactly what you're talking about.
that like some very strong joints on heel hooks, and that's when like I tell some people, and this is the shit that people don't talk about, and it's why your leg locks are not sometimes effective toward the end of the match as the beginning, because you have to like exert a lot of physical strength to dislocate joints and stuff, especially if somebody's very strong, or God forbid that which happens sometimes, unfortunately, but their joints are so strong that you have to attack their fibias and tibias and stuff like that, and then you got to twist hard enough to snap them in two, and you can do that with a heel hook. But
Yeah.
like yeah, like stuff like that is I couldn't necessarily finish those submissions when I was smaller, but now it's not an issue. I definitely take being, I guess fat Joe over small Joe. So
I hate to say it like that because the
that's
fact
how
is,
it is, man. That's
but
how
like
it is.
it's interesting because again, I've been watching you since that point, like since that match that I saw you do, because it kind of flipped the switch in my head. It was like this is an option. This is a thing that I could theoretically get good at
Yeah.
that would just completely fucking turn the system upside down in its head.
Well, it turns the system that around too, as you already know, Emma. Like nobody does this stuff, and like we're in a wonderful time. Like now, people are like kind of picking up on me. They're like, "Man, I know who and I'm not going to call names, man, but like they're like, man, I know who you are. I've known you for years. I'm like, yeah, and you used to talk shit about me and said my jiu-jitsu was terrible, that like I wasn't doing real jiu-jitsu because I did heel hooks and stuff. Like now everybody does it. You guys were fucking stupid
Yeah.
to say that shit about me. And now you all are like going to my seminars and crap like that if I teach them, which I normally don't do them so much anymore. You know, I do kind of, if there's a good like a good purpose or something, of course I'll always try and help and stuff. But more or less, I just enjoy to compete, man. Like I work so much and shit. Like it's one of those things. Like if I'm gonna have something, I'm gonna try to give back. You know, I'm not rich, but I make decent money, so. For me, like jiu-jitsu is all about like I try to compete and be the best I can be, but I try to, with what I can do, I try to give back. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's interesting, like the amount of information out there now. It was funny because I don't know if you told me this or if I heard this, but that, you don't like putting up your competition videos because you don't want people to see the things you're doing. But the fact is that you've competed on so many of these pro cards.
Yeah, it's over with now, man. I don't care if they see it or not.
Because the cat's out of the bag. Like, 10 years ago when there was no fight to win and there was no submission underground and there was no Zapatero or EBI. I mean, you've been on how many EBIs now? Like 3 or 4 of them, right?
Yeah, I've been on 3 EBIs. I believe I've been on 6 submission undergrounds of like a lot of smaller shows I've competed on. And this is a lot of things too. Like, man, if somebody knows that I beat somebody, then that's on them. Like a lot of the guys that are better and stuff today, like I've held victories and stuff over them in the past, but I'm never going to blast and say like, it's one of those things. It's like, man, if you think I suck, if you don't know me, that's fine. But I was like, don't judge me by my cover. Like I'm one of the most vicious finishers there's ever been. Like either like, and plus I'm, I don't give 2 shits, man. I'll give 1 chance to tap, and if somebody don't, like if I can, I'll rip their leg completely off and throw it into the crowd. That's my mentality. Like I don't ever want to hurt anyone, but if it's going to be me or them, 100% of the time it's going to be them.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's how you kind of have to be when you're competing at a high level, because the fact is that, I mean, you give them time to tap. I don't know if I'm even at that point yet where I had that luxury. Like I just grab and go, and when they tap, I let go. Like I'm not trying to hold on after the tap.
Yeah, you have to be. But here's the thing, though, Emil. It's like, and it's like with me. Like we've even had matches. Both of mine, my foot popped. But here's the issue. Like I tapped before it got really bad. Like if I would have sit on and, because man, all that would have happened, especially with the last one when I got caught with that outside, that would continued on. That would have eventually led to either my knee blowing, which once that happens, it's worse than a bone break, or like, the ankles you can kind of get over a little bit. Them aren't as bad, but once it gets in the shin and the knee, like, dude, you're fucked.
Yeah, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants it. It's one of those things, like, I think that people underestimate the power of leg locks.
Oh yeah. Well, we still, just like with everything in jiu-jitsu, this is what I try and tell people. Like, man, I'm evolving right now more than I have in years, just for the simple fact that I'm in a new battle now. I mean, like, and I don't think people realize like how much me and you actually talk. And I really don't talk to a lot of people, but it's kind of cool because we have those conversations where, like, we'll bring up something, the other one will bring up an intelligent argument to it, and it, like, stuff like that kind of makes me grow even talking about it. But like
the intellectual growth.
Yeah. But just like, the issue I brought up of like, hey, you never see triangles from the guard, and then you brought up that guy that triangle text, and then I looked it up. I was like, heck, I didn't even know that. But
yeah, it's a thing. It's the game is pretty constant. There are no new techniques. There's very few new techniques that come out, or techniques that are not, at least people don't have some familiarity with it. I feel like it's the systematization that makes it different. Now, you were leg locking people back in like 2000, early 2000s.
Yeah.
You were leg locking people at MMA. And your heel hooks look clean back then, and they still look clean now. What has changed? The world has kind of changed around you as you've remained constant, constantly improving, but constant with what you're doing. But the jiu-jitsu world has really shifted its focus. How has that been beneficial, and how has that been harmful to you?
Well, and this is a big part of my growth. Like, let's just say we'll bring up a point which it's been public. People have seen it. Like where I face you, I'm not jumping in where I've got this huge advantage of a leg lock. If anything, right now, I'm having to try and catch up and readjust my strategy because like now there is several guys like Rao, a lot of these dudes that like it's so fucked up. But if this makes sense, I have to realize this. It's like, dude, I can't fight them no other way. Like I have to still attack their leg. Like when a lot of people are this good, that's my best chance is still to finish the heel hook.
Yeah.
But where am I at now? Now I have to do intelligent attacks to where I can't be attacked, and like it's a different battle, but it's good. It's making me grow that much more. Just like I've made some huge jumps as far as like with some reverse heel hook techniques and stuff. And also, basically protecting my legs and mentally I'm trying to get myself to where I'm putting myself in my best positions. Just like when I'm in deep half, I feel really safe, like I don't feel like I can, I'm not going to say nobody can pass, but it's going to be really hard for them to, like, I don't care where they're from. It's going to be very hard for them to pass my guard, like regardless of who it is.
It's funny because I had watched a bunch of tape on you leading up to our first match, and I kept seeing people going into your deep half. You'd scoop them under and you'd take them over and it would be over. Like it was the same thing every time, and nobody had a good answer for it because the reality is that the only good answer is to walk away from you and hope that you get up and follow them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you didn't want me to do that. So
and it's tough. It's a tough thing, but like that's the only option that I could think of that made sense, and I wasn't willing to be that guy, especially not, if I'm trying to do submission only.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it was the reality. It was a reality that going into your deep half is dangerous. Being out of your deep half is not an option. And then, it's such a fucking awful conundrum that you pose people. I don't get it.
No, that's the biggest thing too is like, and I know this is weird, but I've been watching like I'm a huge John Blank Thor fan, like, and he's really studying some of his stuff has kind of helped me because like I like his approach to jiu-jitsu, and like, man, it's very hard to get him in trouble because if he's not comfortable in your guard, he'll just go ahead and go back to his guard. He's not going to put himself in trouble, and eventually, we all get caught. There's nothing you can do about it. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. It's like you have like these unicorns, if you want to call them, like Gordon Ryan. Other than that, it's, I know you love that term unicorn, but you know what I mean? It's just something you don't see. but yeah. For the mortals like me, I'm going to get caught. And as aggressive as I try to be, because I try to be super aggressive, I always try to finish. Like, and that's one thing too. Like in the first minute, I can almost smell if somebody's like really, why leglocks only work on Roken films. I don't even know who that is.
Darth Silly Goose.
Oh, that guy. I got you. Yeah. But no, the only, the nerves get them real bad. So, man, you're not tired. You're nothing. The first minute, a lot of times, is your best chance to finish most people. So I try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's ridiculous sometimes because I see, especially like at the Arnold's, it was interesting watching you live again because I hadn't watched you live since Josh Souter. Everything else that's been in videos. And watching you live, watching like the energy on the mat and watching that, like you pull people into the dark, you pull people into this space that they don't have an answer.
No, I think that's the issue. And you're really good about that, like about as far as like cognitively studying and stuff of people's patterns. Like
it's the only way to do it, man.
Well, the big thing is like if you watch with like a heel hook or whatever, if I do an outside, I think one reason why I've been so effective with it is because, for one, if they straighten their leg, like I've did it so much, I can normally force through the joint and still finish it. But like if they do have their knee bent, my initial, especially if it's a low side one, my initial pull isn't going to be to finish you. It's going to make you row, and then I'm going to put every bit of energy, because there's going to be a split second where a hip hits on the other side, and that's when I can finish. And that you know how we kind of talked, like you don't always get the luxury of doing everything slow. That's one of them, because you literally have half a second. And there's no promise they'll tap, but every bit of damage that can be done will be.
Yeah.
If they choose to roll, at least.
Do you think that there's any way to do leg locks safely so that you don't wind up kind of coming home on your shield?
Man, it's one of those things, like, I guess I got a different mentality than everyone else. As many leg locks as I go for and stuff, losing's no matter what we do, man. We can work toward it and try to fix our problems. But dude, you got to think, as many leg locks, especially like, man, I go for all kinds. I try to still compete quite a bit. Like, this has kind of slowed me down a lot here, but I was, like I think I've had 26 matches this year so far. So I try to compete quite a bit, but like, it's, I don't know, man. I think for me, like, sometimes you're going to get popped in a competition. Unfortunately, it's just going to happen. Now, whether it's bad enough to damage you or make you tap is one thing, but like, and you'll know what I'm saying here. The most painful submission isn't necessarily that painful. We tap for joint preservation to be able to train, not out of pain. So that's why a lot of these people that'll, like, if you see, like, if I get caught in a reverse heel hook, it's a complete different speed of what I tap. Like, if I get caught in one of them, like, and I know I'm caught, I'm not going to find out if I can get out or not. I'm tapping. I'm going to have a pretty good shot at, I'm feeling very safe, because, man, the end result of that, like, not that I'm super old, but like, I'm 37 next month, and like, that's going to suck trying to come back at 38 or 39 and still compete in pro grappling matches. Because, like, most of the time I will do masters divisions, and I don't know how you feel about this, but a lot of times if it's things that I sign up for, just like at ours, our division was definitely tougher than the one under it, just because of the guys that we had in it. But so I'm going to do masters instead of doing the other one and facing like blues and purples. I'm going to go against browns and blacks.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, so last year at the Arnold's, there were two absolutes. There was the adult absolute and there was the masters absolute.
Yeah.
In no-gi. So I'm looking at them. The adult absolute, the highest rank in the division was brown belts. There was like one black belt in the division. I think he wound up no-showing the division.
Okay.
Then in the masters absolute, the highest rank, there was like 4 or 5 black belts.
Nice. Yeah, I would have done it.
Like, I want to go against the black belts. I want to go against the more experienced grapplers. I don't necessarily care if I win. I would rather lose to a black belt than win over an ambitious white belt.
Yeah,
that's just my mindset, especially for that, because it's free for us. It's free for brown and black belts.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in an amazing time right now. You and I get to compete for free a whole lot. Remember when it used to cost a lot of money?
Oh yeah, man, and that's another thing. Like when because I don't know how much experience you had with the dark ages, but like, dude, I would got scared as shit there for a while, like because everybody took off with the IBJJF real hard, and then like nobody was allowing like heel hooks in their tournaments, and the only super fights people was doing was either IBJJF type rule, no gi or gi, and I was like, shit, man, they're gonna like outlaw this stuff, and then it was kind of crazy after Abu Dhabi, uh, 2011 stuff got better, but that like you had two of your final matches, like Andre Gavone toe-holded Pablo Popovich for the absolute title, and then Dean Lister just crucified the division with heel hooks.
Yeah.
And stuff started getting better after that. It was like, okay, we're seeing that somebody's winning no gi worlds or the mundials, the gi worlds, and they're coming in and they're getting heel hooked by these guys.
Yeah.
So we have to like that. Somebody's like, I'm a no gi world champion. You got some that will win Abu Dhabi, and then you have some that won't even win their first match at Abu Dhabi. So
right, man, reaping. I think reaping more than heel hooks. Reaping makes such a big difference.
Well, the thing is, and like what sucks, and I don't like. I've did a lot, not so much IBJJF, but I did do a lot of black belt gi matches. I think I've had close to 20. Most of them, of course, super fights at different places. But what sucks about these things, man, is you'll be starting to go for a sweep or just a leg entry because I'm so short, man. I don't go for a whole lot of leg locks in the gi. I mostly pass and play that type game because it's you got a good spider guard or good lapel grips. It's hard to finish the straights and stuff like that because I'm just so short, anyways, man. Especially at heavyweight, but like you'll be going for a sweep or something, and they'll purposely bend their knee the wrong way just where you have to let go. And I'm just like, man, that's the biggest pussy thing ever. I'm just like, that's not jujitsu to me. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I like which I don't know how close you followed this, but until after 2008, they allowed knee reaping in IBJJF. And then after that, it was a rule. Like, I'm still a firm believer, and we're not far off from the future in the knee reap rule being gone. And then
I hope so, man.
Well, also, call me crazy here. I don't think it will ever be allowed in the gi. The only time I did agree with they should have allowed heel hooks in the gi was when they did that spider tournament for like $100,000. They should have been able to heel hook each other for that type of money.
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely, they should have. I think that it's tough. It's really tough because they talk about how people get hurt, they're not going to do IBJJF, and how a lot of names won't show up if heel hooks are in play and stuff like that. But I don't know, man.
Well, I understand that, but this is my biggest concern right now is we're in a new era, man. This is a leg lock friendly era. And like these guys, man, they got to feel bad a little bit. They're like, I'm an no-gi world champion, but I go to a local tournament and I get heel hooked by some guy that's just a recreational grappler. And it happens all the time. We see it all the time. And it's like the part that got me into doing jiu-jitsu, I don't know about you, is it was the most dominant martial art. And it still is I'm a big component of real jiu-jitsu. Real jiu-jitsu allows heel hooks, chokes. Always the choke is going to be the most devastating because, it's to put somebody unconscious, The heel hook, a brave man or an idiot, however you want to look at it, can survive the heel hook. He'll just let his leg blow, however it is. Some people, especially in MMA, will let that happen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've popped people pretty bad in competition and had them still stay in the match.
Oh yeah. I've had MMA fights where This is actually when I started making a referee grab me. Like I had a fight with it was a bulldog tournament. I faced John Troyer in my second match. I heel hooked him, and this was the only MMA tournament I ever did. But his leg popped real bad, and he screamed out and he tapped me, and I let go. And I mean, me and him were all right and stuff before, but what bothered me, like especially after watching it, because I had even people telling me they're like, "Dude, he tapped," and then you could watch and you could see him, tap me twice, and he
Yeah.
screamed out, but I let go of it. Well, after I let go, I was like, well, maybe I just thought he tapped, whatever. I didn't say anything. We kept fighting, and I ended up like I tie clinched him and kneed him really hard, and he like slammed me off of it, and right off of the slam, I got hit with this hard ass hammer fist, and I went to kind of cover and come up under him, and like I guess I got hit more than what I thought I did because they stopped it. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, and then man, I wouldn't have been able to fight my next fight. He broke my nose like horrible. It was sideways.
Yeah.
But like you know, after that I told myself I will never let go, especially in an MMA fight, unless the referee grabs me. Now for grappling, it's different, man. If you get somebody and you got them dead to rights, like I don't know if you were like watching some of those matches at the Arnold's we did, but like, dude, I was super slow at finishing
Yeah. You
some of
were
them
stopping.
guys.
You were you were
Yeah,
you were looking at the guys and stopping.
yeah. I mean, but
Um,
that's complete, dude. I knew they didn't know what the hell, but I don't know what belt they were, but I was just like, what kind of karma is this on me if I just slam this shit in?
I mean,
So
on the other side of things, like I had a match. The kid that actually won our weight class, but an adult,
yeah,
he's a big athletic blue belt from up this way. His
okay,
name is Vincenzo. And
all right,
Vincenzo, he's a tough kid, man. He's a tough, big, strong kid. Nice kid too. Like I like him. We had a match at an AGC, one of Dustin's tournaments up here in Cleveland,
yeah,
and I hit an Imanari roll on him, and he was doing a really good job of like collapsing his hips on me so that I couldn't get his leg extended to get the heel hook.
yeah,
When I finally got his leg out, he tried to roll hard, and I had to just take it, and it popped bad.
yeah.
And he was mad at me for that shit. Like he was legitimately mad. And I was like, "Listen, dude,
There's
if
nothing you
you
can do though.
escape explosively, my choices are let the submission go and take the risk that I'm not going to get it again.
Yeah,
That's a risk, or just take it." And if we sign the waiver, I find competitions easier than training. In training, I got to protect my training partners.
oh
Competition, I don't
yeah.
have to protect.
No, competition's a little fun too, because you don't have to be nice with anything. You can kind of. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know how you are. I don't want to purposely hurt anybody. I know I've had people say in the past, they're like, "Man, you're such an ass when you went with that," and I was like, "Dude, they had every chance in the world to tap. After that, I take it as full disrespect.
So
It's
here's the thing, Joe. People don't realize the depth of the leg lock game. People don't understand it. And so what winds up happening is when you get on that heel hook, or when you get on that Achilles lock, and maybe it's not the same now because the game's in the meta phase right now where it's like that's what everybody's doing.
yeah,
But back like in 2011 or 2012 when you were fucking everybody up, like everybody,
yeah,
um, what would happen is people would get in that position and they wouldn't understand that they were caught until they started to feel the pain because it's a lower body technique.
yeah,
And once you feel the pain, now you feel pressure, you have sensations that indicate to you that you're in trouble. I call Varro and I call it the sketch. You feel the sketch. It gets sketchy,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Once you feel the sketch, you have a certain amount of time to tap. And like I see these videos and it's like, oh my God, this guy didn't give the other guy time to tap. Well, no, he had time to tap here in the video. He should have tapped here. Once it got to
yeah,
this point, he was already fucked.
yeah. They won't. I mean, I don't know, and tell me what you think, but even to this day, you almost play the villain role. No matter what you do, that you're not going to be liked because you do this type of game, and
Well, shit,
it's
man.
like,
Everybody hates me anyways.
well, the I don't know. Here's how I put it. Like, because I've had a bunch of, like, backstabbing, shit in the past and stuff. I put it like this. Like, dude, I honestly do make an attempt to be good to people.
Yeah, you do.
And I, but if there's an asshole, I will never suffer them. I will not for one moment will I suffer them. And I don't know if it's, you know, I think in jujitsu, there's no place for that, man. Like, honestly, like, we should all be trying to build each other, and like, competition's hard enough without you know without people saying negative things or whatever. Like, man, if somebody wants to talk about me getting caught or whatever, and like talk shit about me, it's like, whatever, dude. I mean, I'm going to get caught. I'm putting myself out there. Like, I put myself out there a lot. I always have. If I'm going to be shunned for losing, and then I come back, which, like, right now I feel like I'm on I'm improving really great in training. Luckily I'm healthy. I'm making some big jumps, and I'm doing pretty well in competition this year. And then people want to talk crap about a match or whatever I lose. I'm like, because I've had it brought up to me before, and they're like, man, is that Emil guy good? And I'm like, hell yeah, he's good. It's like, I was like, he's very good. I was like, very deceptively strong. And I was like, he goes to the depths of studying and training with leg locks that I was like, man, he's on a level that people just aren't on right now, because they've got it fixed in their head. Like, with you, like, I kind of got into it with that, or not really into it. It was still a nice conversation, but Edwin Nahajime, or I'm probably slaughtering his
Yeah,
name, but he was talking about how he let his leg break like a gangster or something. Dude, you may let your small bones in your foot break. You didn't let your shin break in two, and you didn't let your ankle dislocate. You would have tapped. You will tap. We all do.
yeah, it's weird, man. So about that, about that.
Yeah.
The way you do your straight ankle locks, and I learned a lot of how I do it both from watching you and then also from Marcus Marinelli, who's the owner of Strong Style, the gym that I train at, and from Sean. Like, those are the three people. And then I also learned, some of your methods from Leduc.
Yeah.
Back when I was getting ready for a match, like 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
He was helping me prepare. So the way you take your Achilles lock, it's not even like you're gonna break above the ankle.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. What we've talked vaguely.
Yeah.
And but I do, because, man, my legs are short and stuff. Like, if I have to go, like, I might get a pop, man. But if I have to do it the traditional way, it's just not going to work out well for me. So I do a Z lock variation, and that's from my training with GoCore and stuff, and like other people are starting to pick it up a lot. But if you watch a lot of the Japanese that fight and stuff, they do the same thing. Like Kitakoka, um, I don't know how familiar you are with him or not, but he's submitted Goming an MMA fight with a straight ankle lock. So that's a pretty cool one to watch if you haven't seen. And it was pretty nasty looking, but he attacks from the side of the ankle. Eminari does the same thing. He
Yeah,
just grips a little.
you're like coming in and out. It's like this kind of motion.
Well, and this is screwed up. Why I started first doing the grip in the order that I do is because, like, Jason Hayden, when he was here years ago, he started doing that Kiss of the Dragon sweep a lot, because we're all huge um, Samuel Braga fans. Like, we love that sweep he does, and but dude, he's like so fast, man. As soon as he got to that thing, he was between your legs. This is when he's like a blue belt. You couldn't, like, he was hard to deal with. So to keep him from spinning, when I went for the straight, I would control his shin with my other arm, and that would make like the Z lock.
Yeah.
And
like you're grabbing, you're pushing, you're like pushing through.
So, but it would, huh?
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, it would just keep it. But the biggest part for that is it would keep him, like, if you do that, the reverse Bomberlo, Kiss of the Dragon, it's done. They're not going to be able to get it. So even by just doing the grip, you've stopped the sweep, regardless if you attack with it or not. So that's a big reason why I started doing it that way.
Okay, so it was out of necessity and training.
Yes.
Now, I mean, you always talk about, you're training with GoCore, you're training with Max Bishop. Would you consider yourself kind of like a hybridized grappler that you're not just purely a jiu-jitsu guy?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I am. But like in today's time, like we've talked about, like, with the 10th Planet guys, which, and this is not a knock on them, but they all talked about this 10th Planet revolution of the rubber are going to happen. And I've watched a lot of guys lose their progress in jiu-jitsu because they jumped into that game. And it just, I'm not saying you can't do it, but you have like Boogie, Nathan Orchard, that Jeremiah Vance that's very good with the position, and then everybody else kind of struggles. The high percentage fruitful techniques that they have done have been their leg locks. Like, I don't think that can be argued. Like, you have the Andrew Alexander that's super good with them. You have that backwoods kid, I can't remember his name. I've actually enjoyed watching a lot of his techniques on in matches on Instagram. One
About the kid from down here. Was that?
I think it's from Bethlehem.
Oh, you're talking about Zach Edwards.
Yes, that's him.
Backcountry. He's gonna be stoked about that. He's gonna love that.
Yeah,
I like Zach. It's funny. I have a funny story about Zach. He came up here to do a King of the Mat, and I had a match against Elijah on that. Elijah Carlton.
Yeah.
And my teammate, or no, this was actually not the time I went against Elijah. This was the next time. My teammate, Jeff Pelton, got a last-second match against Zach.
Okay.
And what's funny is I had studied Zach. I had studied him because I saw him as a potential future opponent.
Yeah.
So I knew what his strengths and weaknesses were. But I didn't have enough time to teach Pelton how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have enough time to be like, all right, if he gets you in this position, you need to do this. I only had like a day, really. It was like we were given the match the day before. So what I did was I sat Matt's side and I just told Pelton what to do as the match was going on, and Zach couldn't get a word in edgewise.
There we go.
It was funny afterwards. He was like, "You're never allowed to coach against me again."
It's hilarious. No,
game study, man. You do a lot of tape study?
Always. I think that's one thing, man, that I've realized with you is like and here's where the progression with everything happens is like, man, you can't put that passion into people. Like, I can look at you and tell that, like, you're in golf. This is like what you do all day. You love jiu-jitsu, you have a liking for the game of the legs. So you study everything. You do everything every day. You break your head trying to add as much as you can. Yeah. And yeah, man, I study, like, still to this day, I study a lot of stuff. I'm kind of back on track because there for a while, like, man, I got, like, which I still do a lot of pressure passing. Like, I believe that, your Sao Paulo way of passing is a big way to deal with the rubber guard, like it, I've faced some pretty high level, 10 Planet guys and was able to I didn't like how I did with Bones, but I ended up having to pull out of Una Plata, which I don't like doing that. I wasn't able to pass his guard, but Kyle Bohm.
Oh, Bame. Okay, yeah.
Man, I screw up their names. I'm sorry, but like the rest of them, I've been able to pass their guards and stuff. So, I've had mixed results with them, but like I feel like I'm on the upside of things now. So
how do you get new information now? Like, how do you learn new shit these days?
Man, one thing that helps me a lot is like I won't lie, like I actually watch a lot of your stuff because you do a lot of of different entries with your straights and your counter leg locks are very
I learned it from you, man. This is
intuitive.
cross-pollination of data. This is
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
cross-pollination.
working out. You're
It's funny because
you're
like a lot of that shit I learned from watching you, and then what I did was I put my own spin on it.
yeah, that's just what you man. That's what I tell people. Like we all may be leg lock guys, but our methods and stuff, you have to find your own game. Nobody is necessarily just like a dude. And I can't remember this guy's name either, but I gave him a compliment the other day, and I was like, man, you know, it kind of reminds me of a Eddie Cummings, and he's like, in time, I don't want to be referred to as him. And I'm like, man, I don't see how that's bad. Like Eddie's like, in my opinion, the best technical leg locker to pretty much compete.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'll tell you some funny stuff after the call's over. But
Okay.
when it comes to like it was interesting. Last Sunday I had Comprito on the podcast, and he said that he had Damian Maya in for a seminar,
Yeah.
and Damian Maya showed him a technique. And then Comprito was like, "Where'd you learn that?" And Damian Maya said, "I learned it from you." And Comprito said, "I've never seen that technique before." Turns out that he had shown Damian Maya something else, and Damian Maya was able to extrapolate something different from it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like, no, man, but yeah, I do like a crap load of technique study, just like, or a match study. I do a whole lot of match study too. But like, I watch a lot of, Thor. I watch a whole lot of Thor. I watch, actually watch quite a bit of Quentin. Like I said, I study a lot of your stuff. I always study the highest in techniques and everything. Like, man, there's so much stuff out there. It's not like it used to be, you know, 10 years ago, even. Like, you kind of got to put yourself in a box because you can't study everything there is. You have to make the things that are worthwhile work. And at the same time, man, you have to continue to evolve because the guys that are at the top right now are the guys that are kind of doing the things that nobody else knows and able to drag them to the dark a little bit. So that's my biggest thing is I'm trying to get back to that a little bit to where I get people to like, cause I think that's going to be my, like if I face Boogie or some of these other guys, like they know exactly what I'm going to do, man. That there's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is enforce my will. Am I physically stronger than Boogie? I feel like I definitely am. Am I am I more technical? Man, I'll tell you what, he's got some positions. If I get in, I'm in bad trouble fast.
Yeah.
And I know that going in. So for me, stylistically, I think I match up super well with him.
Mm-hmm.
I love the guy. There's literally nobody that I've met nicer, you know, but it's just one of those issues. Like in the past, I've had like I fight anybody, man. So it's one of those things. Like if somebody wants to talk shit because they lose a match, if everybody fought as much as I did, they would lose matches too. It's just how it goes, you know. I mean, unless, like I said, you bring up like Gordon, I don't know how in the hell he don't, but he just seems to never lose.
Gordon doesn't lose. Gordon also at this point is very. I mean, he sets his price and he makes sure that he gets what he wants out of the match. And so as a result, I feel like people that might stand a chance against him, up and comers and stuff like that, he's able to keep them away from him. You accept anything with anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I'll fight a 300-pound roided up guy on a day's notice if he's. The only thing I ask anymore is like, dude, I'll face underbelts as long as they've got kind of a name, you know. That being said, if they're, you know, like a big deal or whatever, because purple belt on up, everybody's tough, man. Like even some blue belts. I'm not saying that they're not, but like you got Nicky rods and stuff that are like blue and purples.
Yeah.
So I don't care about other, like you, just like I told you earlier, I make my level of care into a circle, a handful of people that I value their opinions. Everybody else, man, can fuck off. And I don't mean that bad. Like, it's not that I'm not going to be nice to people. It's not that, but
Just you don't care about their opinion.
No, I don't. And, you know, that's just where I have to be, you know, and it's not that I'm being disrespectful. It's just I don't give a shit what they think, man. They don't know my road. They don't know what I've been through. And 99% of them would have done quit a long time ago if they went through half the shit I did. So they can write their own story. Don't worry about mine.
Now, as you age, and there's, you know, there's you and I are close in age.
Yeah.
But as you age, is there going to come a point where you're like, all right, no more good purple belts or no more good brown belts, and you know, now I'm only going to go against black belts who are my size? Is there going to come a point where you're like, the influx of opportunities is not going to be worth the potential for injury?
Once I get to that point that I feel like I have to start choosing who I go against in order to preserve my own safety or to be successful, that will be the time, or I have to just compete solely in masters or something like that. That'll be the time I quit competing. I don't know when that time will be, but I will only consider myself a professional grappler. And the second that I have to defer from that, I will no longer do it.
Okay.
So that's just my own decision, you know.
No, that's an answer. It's like, for me, when I see you accept some of these matches, and I see like that, you know, you were offered these matches, the promoter went ahead and offered you a match against a fairly new brown belt or stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my mind, and you know, I always think to myself, I'm like, they couldn't have found a black belt for him.
Well, most of the time they won't face me, man. I know that sounds bad. And now I do defer a little bit now. Like if I'm going to do a super fight, like locally or whatever, it pretty much does have to be a black belt or somebody with a name. Like in the old days, I was getting to the point, like if you see where I took some matches, dude, that was the only people that would fight me. Like I could, like the last two submission, what do you call them? Submission hunters or whatever. I'm not even trying to get on another one of those because like the last two ones I did, like literally nobody would face me. I was like, I will go, and, you know, but I was wanting a black belt match, but I was like, I'll go anyway. Tennessee is full of people, plumb full of black belts and academies, and you tell me I don't know, man. It's just bad. It's just bad altogether. But like that's why anymore I kind of get out of that realm a little bit. I'll just like my own shows. I couldn't even get matches on my own shows at Bigfoot.
Do you think that it's the people are scared to get hurt by you, or do you think that it's that they don't want to get beaten by you?
This is the biggest thing. I'm kind of in a weird helix, and what I mean by that is I'm a big enough name. If I am at all, I don't even know if I have a name. I'm just saying, like I'm decently enough known that I can be looked as a stepping stone by somebody trying to come up. But then there's some guys that look at me as like, you know, I don't even know. They'd be like, man, it might look bad on me if I was to lose to him. And then the biggest part is they're like, man, I don't want to go against him. He's got a game I'm not used to. And I've had that happen a lot, you know, and they're like, just don't want to do it. And it gets frustrating, man. It takes your momentum and stuff. And so I finally just went, man, no matter what happens, I'm not quitting until the time comes when I can't do this. I'm going to stay in it, you know.
Do you get hurt in training at all?
Do I get hurt? Man, it's a weird thing. I get up every day, man, and I'm in complete pain. But I think that's just how jiu-jitsu is. I think we all hurt all the time. And a lot of that's from the job I do as well. And it's not making any excuses. I don't know how much the next guy hurts. That's why you'll never hear me bring up an injury or whatever if I compete, because I don't like if me and you have a match, regardless of the result, I don't know what condition you were in when you stepped into it. So why would I try to make an excuse? That's why I hate it when people are like, man, I had this broke, I had that broke. It's like, dude, we've all got something broke. If you do leg locks a lot, you've always got some bone in your foot broke. The small bones always break and dislocate. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean,
I try
I
to
don't
tap
know.
early.
Yeah,
I
well,
try to tap extra early in training.
it's one of those things, man. In training, I'll let the straights go a little bit because that's the only submission that of a leg lock that I do feel like you can build the resistance for a little bit by doing it. But I'm not going to be stupid and sit there and but I will try and strengthen my boot and stuff. But like if you get a heel hook, yeah, it is training, man. I do this a lot too, which I didn't do so great in the past. But nowadays, if I'm rolling with somebody and I heel hook them, I'm not finishing it, man. Like depending on who it is, there's some of them that I will. Other ones, I'm just letting go and going to another position. I don't have to have a tap to know that I have it, or what does it even matter? It's just training. Who cares if your ego's so big that you have to have that person tap in order to validate yourself in training? You've got a bad problem, man. You're going to hurt your training partners, and you're just kind of a cancer.
Yeah, I had a funny experience where I was going against this very, very, very good young brown belt in training. I was rolling with him in training.
Yeah.
And he was going at me like 100 miles an hour. He was really coming at me like super hard. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, he seemed like a really nice kid, but he seemed like he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder with how he was training with me. And at a certain point, he launched into a leg entanglement and started trying to rip on inside heel hooks on me.
Oh, Lord.
And I mean, having prepared for some fairly high profile matches against good leg lockers, yourself included, I'm hard to actually like get a good bite on. Like you can, but it's hard. And so he kept getting it, and I'd slip out, and then I'd slip out. And at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to heel hook you. So I get an inside heel hook on him, and I look at him, and I've got it. I got it tight. And he's not tapping. I'm like, okay, fine. Let it go. So I'm like, all right, let me try outside heel hook. I'm going to put a bit more torque on that before I break you. So I put the outside heel hook on. I take it right to that point. I look at him. He's not reacting. I do this like twice. Like I go back and forth twice. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try an Achilles lock because those hurt. Put the Achilles lock on. As soon as I slide it on, it breaks.
Good Lord.
So the question is, I've had the experience that I've had more serious pops, both in competition and in training, from Achilles locks than from heel hooks. People are more scared of heel hooks.
Yeah, the thing, man, I've had so many people blow their knees out on straights just trying to get out of them that yeah, man, just like people tell me I'm crazy, I do think that the straight can be as effective if not more if properly done right, because they just look at the ankle. It's not just attacking your ankle; it attacks your knee and your joints and your side bones. Because that's another thing too. Your ankle is its strongest when you go against the joint in the motion that it should be, but when you go sideways to it, that's when it breaks the easiest.
Yeah.
And this,
really
very few, just very few people do it.
I don't get it, man. I don't understand why more people aren't doing straights.
Right now, I feel like, and I think you're taking advantage of it for sure. But the thing is like people just don't understand it. Just like I have guys go, I won't tap to straight, and I'm like, I mean, you can let me put one on if you really believe that. Like, I'll make a believer out of you. Like, if you're silly enough to let me have your leg and let me get the grip that I want and lock it in, I mean, the only two things is going to happen. And I'm not even nowhere near close to the best of this stuff. Just like, you got guys like Max Bishop and Gokor, man. Like, it's just humbling to me because, like, and I even feel like Eric Poulsen's on that level, like of, just a really great leg locker. I'm not saying anybody's better than anybody. I'm not going to be that guy that gets called out for that. But what I'm saying is I think all these individuals are so good at techniques that maybe we overlook that they can easily manipulate a lot of, like, pretty much everybody that don't mess with them.
Yeah.
So, And, my goal is I'm never going to be a Gokor. I'm never going to, be a Max Bishop or anything like that. But I would at least like to at least get in a position where I feel like I don't, what little bit of time they spent with me, I just don't want them to feel like, I let them down, that I actually did do enough to make a difference with what I could do.
I mean, the reality is that you've done more competitively than probably any of their students.
Well, the thing is like, man, and I don't know how much I talked to you about it, but this is a serious problem to this day. I still fight for validation. Like, I get depressed over it. Like, I do not feel like I validated myself within my own mind. So that's one of the biggest driving forces I have is like, they're like, you did this and this. Like, dude, I can only tell you what I've done wrong and what I've lost. And like, I've got certain things that I need to achieve. And like, man, and this is what I've talked about a little bit. Like, I can't beat Gordon Ryan. Now, don't get me wrong. If he was just silly and let me put in a reverse heel hook, like a white belt that knew how to do something right could be advantageous at that point. That has nothing to do with me, doing a technique. But like some of these guys that could help me and help Kentucky Jiu-Jitsu, like if I face like somebody like Boogie of that level or whatever, can I beat him? I don't know. I feel like I can. I feel confident. I hope the match does happen. I love the guy, but I feel like it's been a long time in the makings over the years. I don't have the name that he has, but it doesn't mean I'm not of that level.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've always been kind of what do you want to call it? Like this underground beer or something that everybody loves, but they never really like push it. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm kind of just still, I'm known, but I'm unknown.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, I think that part of it has to do with the fact that you're humble and that you don't self-promote. Why is that? Why don't you self-promote more?
Man, here's my biggest fear is like jiu-jitsu is kind of, and I'm just being honest here, jiu-jitsu in its realm is kind of like going to church in a way to me. Like, what I mean is I'm not being fake, but like if you show up to like a court or something, even we'll even take it to that extent, you're going to be respectful and out of your normal demeanor, out of respect for what you're doing. So for me, when I go into jiu-jitsu, I kind of always clean myself up. What I mean is I I'm a better person for it. I'm a better person when I step in. If people know the real me, if they know the guy outside of jiu-jitsu, it's just kind of like, man, you're such a white piece of shit. They will not, they definitely won't like what they know. Or maybe they would. I don't know, man. But I'm definitely not like anyone else, is what I mean. My life is completely different and people will not understand my motivations at all. But like, I just, you get scared sometimes when you think about people actually, for myself, actually knowing who I really am. And I know it's hard to explain, but that's just, I get afraid of what people would actually think if they really knew me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I guess people don't really know Gordon. Like, people don't really know Gary Tonin. Like, these are not people that the public really knows, but they still self-promote. They still go out and they talk shit and they try to get matches. And I guess,
Yeah.
at what point did you decide, okay, or what influenced you to decide that it was showing respect was more important than gaining opportunity?
Well, man, this is kind of what happened, and I guess I can kind of come out of it like, oh, it's been long enough. I guess I can talk about it. But I had an issue where I was, you know, and I won't dive too deep into it, but like
Yeah.
I was falsely accused of like second degree assault. Probably, I'm trying to think. I was like 20, 24 when this all started,
Okay.
and this issue kept me out of like because I was actually going to school. Like my goal was to be going to the state police and stuff at this point, and it was like a whole culture change for me. Like, and it really let me look at how wrong our judicial system is and stuff. Like the person that was of interest in this even admitted that they had lied and stuff. And instead of dropping it as they should have, they said, well, we'll give you the diversion. I'm like, man, I can't accept anything. I didn't do this. Like, I've never been locked up for anything in my life, you know? And it took 7 years for this to end. And in this point, I ended up working in the, getting into coal mining and stuff. And then, like, this is the point where I had, won trials during this and everything. And so that's a big reason why I didn't self-promote. I didn't want this being brought up and then people making out of something they didn't have any clue of what they knew about.
That actually
because
makes
it was all lies. And that's, if that makes sense, that's why I've kind of been.
That makes perfect sense. I didn't know that. See, I thought that it was like some sort of an internal leash you were putting on yourself. That actually, like, that factor, like that, puts the story together for me, at least, because it's like I was always like, because I watched you, I was like, this guy is the shit. Like, he could be a fucking superstar in the sport. You would maybe he wouldn't win every match because, like you said, you got your Gordons out there who are a big fucking problem. But the reality is, you would have done a lot more in your heyday, quote unquote, than you did if you had talked more shit, if you'd been a bit more mouthy, because the fact is you would have won a lot of those matches.
Yeah, the thing was, and I just, when that happened, man, it sucks, dude. It makes you like when you see people getting shots that you, and I'm not talking shit, man, because I know we all get here, but you see people, like I'm talking about, you go out, you don't have competitive matches, you just fucking hand them their ass.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are getting put on. They're getting the shots. They're getting, and you're like, man, I can't say nothing. I can't say anything because I'm in this situation.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, man, over lies. I thought I might be doing a lot of time in prison, and then finally, thank God I got through the whole mess. And like, dude, it takes a part from you though. You're not the same after it. Like, people are all like, because I had a bunch of things happen during that period. Like, a lot of people don't, like I told you about the whole thing too. I've been married 3 times. Like, I've pretty much, like I said, if people just look at it and they don't understand my whole situation and stuff, they'll just like assume like, man, he's just such a wreck. He's such a piece of shit, But yeah, you got to know somebody's story, man, before you dive into that. Yeah, man. Like I had my, my first marriage. I kind of, I won't lie, I knocked my girlfriend up right out of high school. We kind of got married. It didn't work. I'm not saying anything bad to her or whatever. We just shouldn't have got married. My second marriage. Yeah. Like I was married for 10 years and, some, I don't want to have bad blood because we get along, but she did some things I had to divorce her for. And, this one, I hope I'm done. I really hope because I said I was never going to get.
Very nice girl.
Well, I said I was never going to get married again after that whole mess. It's why I'm really untrusting and stuff of people, just because of crap. But like, she's been great to me. I can't, if I was going to marry anyone, of course it'd have been her. But if it took all that to lead where I'm at now, I'm fine. So I don't care if anybody's other, what they may think about me, whatnot. But yeah, like I guess I have kind of lived a lot of life that people don't know about. There's like a bunch of stuff, but
it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality. Like you're volunteering information that really nobody's entitled to this information about you.
Yeah.
Like it does make a lot more sense about why you made the decisions competitively in the sport that you do. With that context, like that context does put things together a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, man, everything happens but here's the thing. And this is what I've chalked it down to. I can't do anything about the past. I can't do anything about what's happened. All I can do anything about is what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now is the best I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I still think I got fight left in me, man. I'm not done. Since I've came up weight, I think I've been doing pretty well, and I'm continuing to get better. Even I'm not old. I'm just getting ready to be 37, but I've got years left.
Yeah.
And just because somebody's 20, 21 black belt coming up, I'll face them. I don't care. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how much more gi I'm gonna mess with and stuff. I'm probably just gonna put my full focus into going as far as I can with this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah,
So
it's funny because like I'm assuming that you probably have a pretty nasty gi game.
it's a lot different. Like I've got like a more of course I do a lot of deep half that I do no gi, but like I'm more of a pressure passer. I do a lot of bread cutter chokes and stuff too. So
Yeah, it's. I think that people are still scared of your leg locks, regardless of whether you're in the gi or no gi, and I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for you.
yeah, yeah. It's like, and that's one thing too. Like I don't know how much study you do on Dean Lister, but I still think he's like one of the greatest goats of leg locks that there is. But he and this is for me is what's helped me be very very successful is like, man, there's a lot of people just like the last kid I faced, and I'm giving him respect by saying this, but you would not, like, a lot of people would not leg lock him unless they put him on his back. You have to put, for a lot of people, because they'll just explode and run out and they won't ever engage. You have to get up under them and you have to sweep them. And like, that's another thing. With my sweeps, I've, like, a lot of the top guys that are in the game right now, I've swept them and put them on their back. And that's a lot of things that people take. Just because you're a D1 wrestler doesn't mean you're safe from getting swept by me. Like I've got a very high percentage. And then once on top, the leg lock's a whole lot easier, I think, for what we do, no-gi. So that's a lot of my game.
Yeah, you get access to a lot more information when you're on top, because when you're on bottom, you have side to side movement, but you can't when you're on bottom, you can't really get under the guy the same as when you're on top. You can actually get under the guy once you're on top.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with the boot on the ground and bringing their foot up. And man, that sounds like a really tiresome fight for me. If I don't have to fight it, I'm not.
What do you think is going to be the next meta in the sport? What do you think is going to be like the next thing people are working on?
I think a straight ankle locks, like Z variations, will be a whole lot. But I also think we're going to see the coming of neck cranks.
Neck cranks, you say?
Yeah, I think they're coming.
I ask everybody that comes on that has their eyes on a lot of matches or that is a competitor what they think. And I've heard wrestling from a bunch of guys. A lot of guys think that wrestling is going to be the new meta. And you're the first one.
Yeah, neck cranks for sure, man. I can't tell you the time frame on them, but they're coming. They're coming for sure. If you notice, like I actually do quite a bit of back chokes. Like I do old style, like Billy Robinson setups and stuff. I watched and learned from him, off a little seminar that he taught years ago, and it just stuck with me. I never hardly get a clean choke. It's always a jaw lock or a neck crank.
You're also strong as shit. Like that the way your squeeze makes sense. I mean, why would you bother trying to like wedge your big old thick wrists under the guy's jaw when you can just bam?
Yeah, and if you get on the jaw and you do it correctly, and that's why you lift weights and do all the kettlebells and the shit you do, is where you can break the jaw. It's it's just like, I think it takes, I mean, I don't know, I'm sure they can't be that close on it, but 40 pounds of pressure to break the orbital bone with a face lock or something like that. But here's the thing, that's not as easy to generate as what you think. You are going to have to fucking squeeze really hard to create that type of pressure, because you got to get through the soft tissue, elasticity, and all that to get to where you're actually on the bone joint. So, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to end a match, but a lot of people, they feel their orbital break. Yeah, they'll tap.
Yeah.
So,
So you want the match with Boogie. Are there any other matchups that you're looking for in the foreseeable future?
Dude, I'm not real picky, but like I said, I feel like there's new life for me at the at the heavier weight so far. I've since my return's been here, like, yeah, I'm chubby. I'm going to be like, hell, I always had a spare tire even when I was at 55. But this time I'm a different 210, 215 than what I used to be. Like, I used to just be floppy as heck, which I'm still kind of fat, but I've got like, considerable amount more muscle than what I used to have. So this is the best me physically that, regardless if I'm a little older or not, than there's ever been. So,
I mean, you want some of the heavier guys? You want some like matches some of these bigger guys?
man, I'm really trying to think. I'm not trying to defer from it a little bit, but like, if that, I'm just thinking of Submission Underground in general. If they offer me, let me see here, like, Boogie, of course, I would take it. If they offered me, that Micah Brakefield, of course I would. I think he's a good kid. I really like watching him. I just think it's, a tough fight, people would like to see. That Brazilian, Gabriel Checo, I believe, or whatever.
Yeah.
He's good, man, but I don't think it would be that tough of a fight for me. I think it's a horrible matchup for him. Yeah.
I don't know anything about him. The first time I ever Josh Leduc's in the comments here. He said Gonzaga. I happen to agree.
Here's the thing. I won't turn down shit, and I'll fight whoever, as you already know.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm telling you, that fucker is tougher than nails. Like, he would be very hard to beat. And that being said, I wouldn't turn it down. I'm not saying that.
Don't say Monson. Would you want to see Monson?
Oh yeah, I do Monson. I mean, I would do Gonzaga too. I'm not saying that, but I would be very excited about Monson.
Yeah, I'd be excited about both of them, honestly. I think that considering how quickly Gonzaga lost his last match by heel hook, I don't know.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, brother, I'm not saying I won't do it. Like, I definitely, I'm already saying I will. Like, I would do it. It's just, it doesn't excite me, if that makes sense. I mean, it does, because he's a legend. I would love to face him on that aspect, but he's tough, man. He's very good.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, if any promoters are watching this, I think that Joe deserves more respect in the matchups that he's offered. I feel like people need to be offering you better matchups. You accept whatever you're offered. So, like, you're clean on your end. Like, it's not like you're ducking anything. I just think that they need to give you better material.
No, for sure. Like, man, last time, because I'm just trying to kind of get myself on, but you got to understand too, that last kid they brought up, which and here's the issue, like with the Maximoff kid I faced, and maybe this is just me getting a little soft, and I shouldn't be that way, and I shouldn't even say this, but me looking at this from an outside perspective, was he in trouble? I felt like I was going to catch him, and even going in, I felt very confident about it. As you can see in the match, I wasn't ever worried. I was, kind of just, I knew I was going to get my shot. When I grabbed his wrist, and he went to jerk away and he couldn't move, I was like, yeah, I've got you. I just knew it was a amount of time, because he wasn't stronger than me and stuff. And that would have been, he was going to try to stall me. And I was like, man, he can't even stall me because he can't hold me down. So I knew it was, eventually I was going to get my shot. And luckily I did. I was just patient. But I don't know if I would have got a heel hook and had to hurt him. Like, dude, I'm a white piece of shit. I'm not doing nothing other than this stuff. This is a glorified hobby for me. Like, I want to do as well as I can, but the thing is that kid has a future. He's a possible world champion in one of the MMA promotions. He's possible Nogi world champion or something, and I could possibly affect that if I blow his knee out or something. And it's just like, I shouldn't care, but I kind of do at the same. I mean, if I would have been forced to, of course I would have done it. Like, winning, he signed up to face me, but I don't want to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I guess for me, it's like, And I think you're the same way. I think that as much as you say what you say, I think that we're kind of the same on this. I don't really care. Like I do, in that I don't want to. Like hindsight's always 2020.
I
Like,
don't care
like,
when it's going on. If that makes
exactly.
sense.
Like I'll look
Afterwards,
back and I'll be like, I really hope that guy's okay. Like I'll do that.
well, I'm not going to lie to you, and this is the shit that, like I said, you just can't care. There's been a couple guys when I was like, when I gave them a little extra because they fucking needed it. I didn't give a shit if they ever rolled again after it or not. And
yeah, that's tough, man.
I mean, and you know, they say maybe you shouldn't say that, whatever else. So, you know, fuck them still.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. It's tough, man. It's you can't worry about it in the moment.
No, you can't. A second hesitation is
a weakness.
Like, well, here's something to bring up into consideration. You seen me lose that match with Andrew Alexander. I like the kid a whole lot, but man, I don't feel in myself it should have happened, and that's nothing against him. And that's not. He did an awesome job. He caught me. But did you see how bad it hurt me and how far I fell when that happened? Anything you get, you have to end it that moment at that level, because look how many years it's taken me to start slowly getting back on.
Yeah.
It sucks, man. Like, but just like man, if you get that moment, I mean, I know it's horrible, but you have to fucking take it.
Yeah, I mean, I also try. One thing I've been trying to do more in training is to really get control for the finish.
Yeah.
And like, it's interesting because like I told, you know, we had an incident with one of my guys that he hurt one of the other guys at the training.
Yeah.
Right. He hurt him. He heel hooked him, hurt his MCL a little bit. You guys, everybody's fine now. Nobody's mad or anything. No hard feelings. But what I told him was, listen, in training, you should be trying to go as slow into the submission as possible, because what that's going to wind up doing is that's going to wind up really sharpening up your control and finishing mechanics.
Yeah, dude. And also, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but if you watch everything, like, even before I do the finish, I try to have super control, and I go into it very methodically because of this too. And this may be a little hard to explain. I think me and you may have talked about this in person. I might be wrong, but like, let's say I go for a heel hook. One pop and the heel can move really far as you continue to crunch it through. If I take it and I just sling that motherfucker straight in, what's it going to do? My arm's going to slip off and I'm going to lose the position.
Yep.
You have to methodically, slowly go in it to get the break. And people will think,
like, it's like the friction. It's friction. What it is?
Exactly.
It's like if I go like this, I can go really fast. But if I'm like this, I can't go. You know, it's not the same.
Yeah. It's a, and it looks like it's just like and I mean, don't get me wrong. If you get a reverse heel hook and you get that thing kind of tight on you, yeah, you can rip that. Your arm's not going to come off, especially if you're bone on bone. But on the outside heel hook and some of the straights, if that foot pops, it can really give the ankle a lot more bend, and you can lose the position easy. We all see it all the time.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why slower is better. And then maybe you don't look like, because, dude, if we play the game we do, there's going to be people get mangled. It's just part of it. It's been this way for a couple decades for me now. You know, it's people are going to not walk off on their own and stuff. And that's something you have to be okay with, because they know what they got into before it started. And on any day, that could be you that's like that you that's hurt. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah,
I tapped super early.
Like I said, I'm a little bit, I'll take a little damage on the straights and the heel hooks as long as it's my ankle. But once it gets to, there's anything on my knee, I won't fight it. And that being said, if I feel like it's dislocation on the ankle, I won't mess with it either. So
yeah, I mean, you're also you're of a different era. You're of a different mindset, I think, than a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's I mean, I don't know, man. But you still though, this is like an awesome time. Like, dude, nobody's ever even liked me really, like, except for like a very select few, you know, like that's why I loved it. Like kind of, leading up to us facing each other, you knew all the shit about me from years ago. I was like, nobody knows this stuff about me. I was like, I was shocked.
I was bummed when you got pissed at me.
Well, oh yeah, over that one deal, yeah. Like, dude, going back, that could have been handled completely differently, and
It
that
is what it
I
is. No
felt
water
really.
under the bridge.
No, I know it was water under the bridge, but like I felt really. Because that's one thing when I screw up, I will say I'm sorry because I'm human and I'm not one of those guys that are like, man, I never fuck up. Dude, I fuck up all the time. Look at my life, you know.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that could have been handled differently for sure.
It was funny because like I'm like, yeah, I see that I see your comment. I'm like, I wonder what he had to say. And I'm like, oh fuck, I like that guy.
Yeah, but no, it's crazy though because we had all that, and then it's like you end up being friends and even competing later on, and it's like, because
I don't hold grudges, man. I'm not one of those. I don't believe. Like I believe that we can do things in moments that are not characteristic of us.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
You know, I don't know. I feel like there's some things that are not forgivable, but internet squawk, you know, internet conversation is always forgivable.
Oh yeah, and that's another reason too why I really don't have a Facebook. Because dude, if some of these fuckers catch me in the wrong mood, I'll blow my shit over something that I shouldn't, and I know that weakness about myself, so I keep myself away from it. Just like, you know, I love Quentin. I'm not saying I agreed with everything out of the thing, but dude, at the end of the day, the kid is awesome. He's trying to get a match against Craig Jones. I'm not going to fault him for that. I'm not going to fault him for it at all. But you have that, and I felt like some of those guys were like trying to take away from his ability. I'm like, look, dude, this guy can catch anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit there and talk shit about him because the man's trying to make a come up for himself. Fuck, I should have talked more in the past.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And so I watched that from a distance because I'm not, you know, I love Quentin. Quentin stays at my house when he comes here to Cleveland. Like he stays in that room right there. You know, like he's my boy. Like Quentin's, I love him. And here's the thing. Quentin issued this call out to Craig and Gordon. And the fact is that if they didn't have some sort of thought about him, they would not have been posting all the shit talk. The shit talk, if anything, could be good for him.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that Quentin is not a name in the sport right now. He's fucking good. He's really good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's really, really good. And he can beat anybody anytime, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he's not a name, man. He has not done a great job of marketing himself. And so when you have people like Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan both talking shit publicly on their Instagram pages, exposing your name to all these, you know, Gordon has how many followers? Craig has how many followers?
Yeah, man, it's a lot.
You're doing him a favor.
Dude, what will happen out of this, and this is what I feel and why it's good for Quentin, is it's going to lead to something. I'm not saying it'll lead. I'm not going to say it's going to lead straight to Craig, but it might lead to a road to Craig, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I think it already has. I'm not going to say anything because
I understand.
Quentin shared some information with me, but there might be a road now that there wasn't. And
yeah, but if he kept his mouth shut, there would be no road.
Exactly.
So,
exactly, man. All right, so we're at the 1.5 hour mark on this. I'm going to take a quick look and see if there's anybody that has any questions for you.
All right, brother.
Just give me 1 second. And then I also wanted to go through my upcoming schedule. I got some interesting people coming on here over the next few days that are going to be fun to talk to. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. If anybody has any questions, drop them here in the comments on the original video. If you're still tuned in, we still got 7 people watching right now, which is pretty okay. Hopefully people enjoyed this. So tomorrow around this time, around I believe noon tomorrow, I've got Eric Paulson coming on.
Awesome. He showed me one of the coolest toe holds ever.
Yeah, Eric Paulson is the fucking man.
Yeah.
Then
Is, man.
Monday, I believe 5:30 p.m. I have Mr. Leduc, the Gaylord, coming on. Then Tuesday, I have at, I think it was 6 p.m., but I'm going to have to double check. I've got Mr. Ulysses Bella. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt and a member of the multiple Grammy-winning band Ozomatli. Wednesday, I have at 6 p.m. David Aguzzi, who owns Grappling Industries. And he's the owner of Grappling Industries. Thursday, I got your former teammate, student friend, Nikki Sullivan, coming on.
Nice.
Then Friday is going to be Lance King, the owner of Nightmare Records, former singer of Pyramids and Avion and Balance of Power, and a Muay Thai coach at the Minnesota Academy of Mixed Martial Arts. Next Saturday, I have Silver Fox coming on at 1 p.m. So,
nice.
Schedule is full, man.
That is good.
It's a good time. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
For sure, brother.
I know you don't do these very often. I hope you had a good time with me today.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. We talked about some cool shit. Well, the biggest thing, man, is you understand a lot of this, so we can kind of have I like I said, as much as we talk, it's probably because you're able to dwell in the dark a little bit. You understand. So
unfortunately, yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Enjoy your Saturday. Stay safe and healthy, and hope to see you very soon.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Thank you.